Hey folks! So this is one of the final parts of this short series where we make a functional gun for Vix Point Blank, starting from scratch. Mostly scratch. Anywho, last time we covered animation and display data. So, well, how the gun animates and how it looks in inventories on your person, whatnot. Now, we're gonna go through the process of exporting the gun into Minecraft, or into Point Blank. So, we have our gun model. We have the camera, we have the muzzle flash cube, which is right in front of the barrel here. We have the scope, which is where our aiming is gonna be at. We have the full texture of the gun, we have display data, and we have animations. The first things I do for exporting guns is the textures. So I'm gonna do the item icon right now. For some reason, Point Blank uses a texture for the item icon in your inventory rather than a 3D preview of the gun. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hide everything that is not the gun. So we're gonna hide the camera, we're gonna hide the arm, or both arms. I'm gonna hide the muzzle flash and the scope. So we just have the gun. If we go into our display tab and we click GUI, we will have our gun model already prepped for screenshotting, because we are going to screenshot this. So all you need to do is right click, screenshot model, and hit save. Now, usually when you go to save your item icon, you want to go into your pack folder, or your content pack folder, and you want to go assets, point blank, textures, and item. Now you'll see I have a whole bunch of things around here, so I'm going to give this texture a unique name based on the naming scheme that I've done. So we have the gun name, so Malorian Arms Overture, .icon.png. It is important to have the .png at the end, so the computer knows that it is an image file. And finally, we're going to hit save, and that's that. We have our item icon. Next, we're going to save the texture. So all you need to do is in the Paint tab, you want to right-click on our texture, save as, and we're going to put it in the same directory as the other texture. So our content pack folder, assets, point blank, textures, item. So I'm going to do a different naming scheme, and I'm going to call this that. Nope, not 2007. I want 2077 underscore that. Because what I'm doing here is I'm giving the gun name a prefix. This will help improve compatibility between different guns should anyone try to do the same content pack and have the same gun. We have the prefix. I'm not gonna do a .icon at the end. Rather, I'm just gonna do .png. And that way, the texture is saved. A very important thing that you should do is when you name the texture that, or however you named it, you must keep that name for every other file in relation to this gun model. The animations, the geometry, it'll be very important, because that's essentially the name of the gun internally in Minecraft. Alright, back to exporting things. So next we're going to do the geometry, which is very simple. We're going to go File, Export, and we're going to export GeckoLib model. Now, it's already put me in the right directory, but just so I can show you, we're going to go into our pack folder. We're going to go Assets, Point Blank, Geo, Item. And just like we did with the texture, I'm going to name this the same thing as I named the texture. And there we go. Don't need to add a PNG at the end because that is not an image. That is a JSON file, or a geometry JSON file. We're going to hit save, and now we're going to do the same with the display data. So again, file, export, and instead of GeckoLib model, we're going to export GeckoLib display settings. It's already put me in the right spot, but just so I can show you, again, assets, point blank, models item. So not geo item, we're going to go into models item. And this does not have the right name, so I'm going to give it the right name. Malorian arms overture.json. Alright, I believe I got that right. I'm gonna save. Now, the final thing, I believe the final thing, should be the final thing, is the animations. So we're gonna go into the Animate tab, and we're gonna click Animation, Export Animations, have everything checked, unless there's animations that you've made that you do not want to be exported for some reason. And we hit confirm. Now, just like last time, I'm going to show you where it is. Assets, point blank, animations, item. Now, for the name, it'll default to model.animation. We're going to replace model with the naming scheme that we've put our weapon into. So, Cyberpunk 2077 underscore Malorian underscore arms underscore overture, not overturn. And we're gonna hit save. And I believe that's it. We're gonna save the project just to be safe. And there's one last thing that we need to do with one of the exported files before we get to creating the gun. So we're here in our file explorer of choice, in our content pack folder. So I'm gonna go assets, point blank, models, item, back in here again, and I'm gonna find the file that we just exported. So where is it? Should be Malorian Arms Overture. We're gonna open it in our favorite text editor. For me, it's Kate. Now, you're going to see a whole lot of numbers. This is perfectly fine. So what we're going to do is, if you still have that template pack, we're going to extract one of the model JSON files from there. I'm going to pull it out real quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have the sample pack open with the display data of the sample weapons. So I'm going to open one. And this is the display data for the other, or for the sample item. Now, you may notice a small difference, two small differences. For the first part, this is here. We're going to copy that, and we're going to paste it into the top of our own JSON file right here. Make sure to replace this top bracket here. And now we're going to go scroll all the way to the bottom of the sample one, and we're going to copy this section here. We're going to copy it, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of our other one, or our exported display data, and we're going to replace this bottom bracket with this. And we're going to hit save. We're not done yet. So remember that we exported an image of our gun for the item icon. This is where you want to put the name of that image. So from here, we're going to take out sample assault rifle, and we're going to put in the name of our item texture, which should be Malorian Arms Overture.icon. We don't need to add the .png at the end because Minecraft will automatically do that for us. Thank goodness. And we should be done with the display data. Now it's time to actually create the gun item. So for this, we go to Assets, point blank, Items. And this is where you want to create or copy from a new JSON of the item. So we're just gonna take one of the items from the sample pack. Now, because I'm doing essentially a pistol, the closest thing to the pistol in the sample pack is an assault rifle. We're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it in here. And I'm going to rename this to Cyberpunk 2077 underscore Malorian underscore arms underscore overture. Notice how I'm keeping the same naming scheme as I did with the other files in the pack. Alright, so now we're going to open the file in our favorite text editor, and this is where the fun stuff begins. So the name at the very top should be, well, the name that we've set internally for every other file in the pack. So Cyberpunk 2077 underscore Malorian underscore arms underscore overture. Save. Now, type, you leave it as gun. If you were creating a miscellaneous item, you'd put it as misc. If you're making a custom ammo, you just put in ammo. But for this scenario, we're just going to leave it as gun. Max ammo capacity, well, that's how many rounds per magazine, or how much ammo the gun holds. So for this case, we're going to do 6. And compatible ammo, I'm going to get rid of sample ammo and leave ammo creative in for now, until I figure out what ammo type I want to use for the gun. The damage seems fine for now. 7 seems pretty reasonable for a revolver. Usually I balance my damage based on how much health a player has. So player has roughly 20 hit points. So that should be good. Roughly 3 to 4 shots to kill. RPM. This is not going to be an assault rifle. It's not going to have a high fire rate. So I'm going to set this to 100 for now, and I'm going to tweak it later on. Fire modes. Single, automatic, and burst are the main fire modes, but because this is a revolver, I'm going to set it to only single. Fire sound. Fire sound is the name of the sound you want to play when firing the weapon. So if we go back to our sounds, we can find the name. Let's see, Malorian arm. No, Overture Fire. We're gonna call it Overture Fire. Next value, draw cooldown duration. So we're gonna resort back to Blockbench for this, and we're gonna resort to each of the animations. So for draw, the animation length is technically it's 0.8 seconds, but because of how animations work in Minecraft, at least from how I've noticed, I've set it to 1 frame ahead, so 0.83. Now, with how the JSON measures time, we're going to turn 0.83 into 830. So basically just add a 0 towards the end of the time frame, and that's how long your animation is going to be. Aiming zoom, I tend to leave it as is. This is pretty standard. But if you're doing like a precision rifle, or if you're doing a sniper rifle, you tend to want to increase this value. The recoil parts here all relate to recoil in some part. So the first value, gun recoil initial amplitude, is how much your gun goes back when you fire. Now, we've already technically done this with our firing animation, but Point Blank has some sort of procedural system for this. So I'm going to leave most of this as is for now, because I'm most likely gonna tune it later on to my liking, just to get the right feel for it. And now, inspect cooldown duration. This is the duration of your inspect animation. We're going to go back to Blockbench, go to our inspect animation, and find where the blue bracket is. Now, for me, it's set to, where is it? 6 seconds and 17 milliseconds? No. Yeah, well, 6:17. We're gonna delete the first 3 numbers in inspect cooldown duration and put in our own time, so 6:17. Just remember, when it asks for a duration of an animation, just put 0 behind everything behind the time, or the time for your entire animation. Now, for the next parts, phased reloads, this part can be pretty important. Actually, it is really important, because this governs what animation to play when reloading the gun. So currently, there are only 2 reload animations in this JSON already, and that would be reload empty and reload. Conveniently, the same names that we have for our Blockbench animations. With current point blank, you're allowed to animate the camera and have this procedural shake effect as well. Now, the shake effects aren't exactly required. For me, I tend to leave the shake effects out because we have camera animations now. So what I'll do is I'm going to get rid of this. And make sure there's no comma on the last line of each of these smaller bracket pieces. For the shake effects, if you do want a quick explanation, each one of these snippets right here, there's a start, a duration, an initial amplitude, and a rate of amplitude decay. Start is when the shaking starts, the duration is how long the camera shakes for, the initial amplitude is how much the camera shakes, and rate of amplitude decay is the rate at which the shaking starts to disappear. At least this is what I gathered from it. So we got rid of the camera shaking. The only things left to do in this JSON is set the time that takes for reload empty and reload. So let's go to reload empty, and it takes exactly 4 seconds to reload from empty with our revolver. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do 4,000. Now that we've set the duration to 4 seconds, we're going to go to our reload animation, and we're going to go towards the end to see how long it takes. So 3 seconds roughly. So we're going to do the exact same process. So 3370, that is how long it takes for our reload animation to play. Just remember to put a 0 in front of this number, and that's our time. And that is it. Alright, post-recording me, realized that I was missing a couple things in making the gun item JSON. So I'm going to cover those right now. So this JSON, it has the gun, but it's missing a couple of features. More specifically, a feature that allows some parts to glow or have like emissive features. And the other being the muzzle flash and tracer effects. So we're going to add those right now. The sample pack does not have those as of the time of this recording. However, I do have them on my other guns, so we're going to cover those right now. So the first thing, we're going to need to copy this glowing parts section. So I'm just going to paste it right here. So we have glowing parts. Really, depending on how your model is modeled, you're only going to have one glow bone. So the glowing parts, it refers to the bones in the model. So if we go to Blockbench, you'll see that I have a group called glow, and those would be like the green parts on the sights. So I'm just going to name this just glow. There we go. there's that. Very simple. Next thing would be the effects. I already have it all set up here. So effects here, you're going to want to have effects, open square bracket, and then one of these small entries. You could pause to copy and paste all of this if you need to. So we have the phase, hit scan acquired, and this would be your tracer. Then you have the phase of firing, and this part will let you set the muzzle flash, I mean. So once that's all set up, it's time to see the gun in point blank. Alright, so now we're in our updated world. And this is the overture. I'm gonna test the animations. Oh. There's a little flicker at the end. I guess I need to fix that. But firing it, it has the muzzle flash and the tracer. If we go into a dark spot, our glowing parts are working. This is great. So yeah, without further ado, I'll go back to the video. That is it for implementing gun into the game. The last things we need to do is the language file and seeing if our gun even works. Now, I'm going to show you why it is important to have a language file set up for your gun. So if we go to my pack, you see we have all these names for all these weapons, but if we go to my overture, you'll notice that it, rather than having its unique name, it'll just say item.pointblank. That no 2077 underscore Malorian underscore arms underscore overture. This is Minecraft using the internal name as the name of the gun. But the thing is, the gun works. Mostly. But again, with the name, we're gonna have to add this to our language file. And in order to do that, we need to go back into our pack, go to assets, point blank, lang, and you should have an en_us.json. This is the English language. You can add more depending on what languages you want to add. So I'm going to open this with my favorite text editor, and you see I've already set up a bunch of names. So in order to add a new entry, I'm going to create a new line, and in quotation marks, we're going to go item.pointblank dot and then the name of our gun, the internal name. So Cyberpunk 2077 underscore Malorian underscore arms underscore overture. Semicolon, space, and then in quotation marks again, we're just going to put the name that we want our gun to have. So, overture. And finally, we're going to set it up with a comma, just so it doesn't interfere with the rest of the items on the list. You do not want to have a comma at the end of the JSON file. Like at the very end, if there's no other entries, you do not want a comma afterwards because that causes problems. Now, if you're already in Minecraft when you do this change, all you need to do is press F3 and T at the same time. That will reload resource packs, and it should show that we now have a name for our gun. Yeah, it works. Now, if you've gone through this entire process yourself and you now have a working gun in point blank, congratulations! You've followed the steps and now you have a fully functioning gun for Vix point blank. Now, nothing is perfect on the first try. unless you're some super being or some sort of superhuman. So there is some trial and error involved. For example, for me, the firing sound does not work, and there's a few visual bugs with the reload animations. So I'm gonna have to go back into Blockbench and fix those. But other than that, the gun works. Really, the last thing you need to do, as of now, is if you have any problems with your gun, you just go into Blockbench, you fix it up, or if Minecraft's having a stroke, you go ahead and fix that, and that is all. I hope you all enjoyed this series. I hope you have a better understanding of how to make guns for Vix Point Blank. I'll probably keep adding to this series where I make attachments, how to implement attachments, the different features that Vix Point Blank has, like the modern features. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you have fun making your own custom weapons. Take care. I hope that beeping was not picked up by my mic. My gosh, this is the second time in a row. I start recording a video, and there's a loud vehicle in the distance. I hope my mic did not pick that up. And if we go into it, I swear to frickin' gosh, with all these loud vehicles going by, I swear, it's semi-trucks that come through this neighborhood. Alright, anywho.